Leo, radiant soul of fire and purpose. What if I told you that the moment you pressed play on this video was a divine appointment, not an accident? What if I told you that God is warning you right now? A billionaire shift is happening and your name is written into the plan. You are being summoned into a new realm of influence, of power, of sacred wealth. Not just financial wealth, but spiritual, emotional, and generational prosperity. This message was destined for your ears, and your presence here is the first confirmation. You may feel it already, a sense that something is shifting in the air around you. Perhaps you've been noticing signs, divine nudges, recurring numbers, dreams that linger, restlessness in your spirit. That's no coincidence. This is the call. The threshold. The door is opening and you, Leo, are standing right in front of it. In the Buddhist lens, there are moments when karma ripens, when past effort and unseen grace converge into breakthrough. This is one of those moments. A sacred turning point. And the truth is, you've already been walking toward this, even if you didn't realize it. Every challenge you've survived, every tear you've cried in silence, every quiet act of integrity, none of it was wasted. You were being shaped, prepared, fortified. And now, the universe is saying, it's time. This billionaire shift is not about greed, ego, or fame. It's not about chasing wealth, it's about stepping into alignment with your higher calling. It's about becoming the kind of person who can carry divine abundance with humility, wisdom, and grace. And yes, it starts within. It starts with remembering who you really are. Leo, you were never meant to live a small, hidden life. You were born to lead, to shine, to inspire. Your energy is royal. Your spirit is magnetic. You have a heart that was designed to light up cities and souls. But for a long time, you've been fighting in the dark, wondering when your time would come. You've been faithful while feeling forgotten. But now, God is whispering in your direction, the wait is over. The shift is now. Let that settle in your heart. What would change if you believed it? How would you walk if you truly accepted that you're being called into a life of divine wealth and purpose? The heavens are aligning to support you. But this shift won't happen passively. It requires action, intention, faith. You are not just a listener here, you are a co-creator in what comes next. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what inside of me is ready to rise? What limiting beliefs am I finally willing to release? Because Leo, this video isn't just an emotional lift, it's a spiritual assignment. And you were not called here by accident. You were drawn here because your spirit is ready. Now, if you feel something stirring within you, if even a tiny part of you believes that this billionaire shift could be real, declare it. Comment below with the number 777 to mark your agreement with the divine plan. Let your energy speak. Let your voice echo into the algorithm of spirit and cyberspace alike. And allow me to take a moment and express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every share, every comment, every moment you spend here with eternal mindfulness, helps carry these transformative messages to others who need them. Your support fuels this mission, and I don't take it lightly. So please, stay with me until the very end of this message. Because what the universe is about to reveal in the next few moments may completely shift how you see your life, your purpose, and your potential. And trust me, you'll want to hear it all. You've been waiting, Leo. And not the kind of waiting that's passive or apathetic, but the kind that requires deep courage, the kind where your spirit stays quietly alert, even in silence. You've known what it feels like to show up, day after day, heart wide open, and still feel like the world doesn't quite see you. You've offered your light in places that didn't recognize it. You've walked through seasons of seeming delay, where your inner fire had to burn without a single spark of external validation. But even in those moments, something greater was moving beneath the surface. What felt like stillness was actually preparation. And now, everything is shifting. The energy is no longer holding you back, it's rising up behind you. This is not just symbolic. Astrologically, Leo is ruled by the sun, the giver of life, light, and clarity. And when the sun strengthens, as it is now, so does your solar force, your life direction, your vitality, your visibility. The sky itself is declaring, your time has come. You are no longer being refined in the shadows. You're being positioned to rise, fully, gloriously, into the center of your own life. There's a quiet law woven into the rhythm of the cosmos: all things arrive in their appointed season. The seed does not rush its bloom, nor does the flower regret its time underground. In your waiting, Leo, you weren't dormant, you were becoming. Your roots were deepening. Your wisdom was maturing. Your heart was learning the kind of resilience that can only come from stillness, not noise. And now, that growth has reached a point of ripeness. The universe does not delay without purpose. The space you've endured was sacred space, clearing the path for what is about to unfold. But something else is also true: your waiting is not just ending. It's transforming. What once felt like a holding pattern is becoming a launch pad. You are being lifted into a higher version of yourself, one that is bold, expressive, and fiercely aligned. And yet, this is not about pushing or proving. It's about allowing. Allowing yourself to trust the timing. Allowing your past seasons to become your foundation. Allowing the fire in your chest to finally speak without hesitation. In this sacred transition, you are not becoming someone new, you are becoming someone remembered. You see, the sun doesn't ask permission to shine. It simply rises. And you, Leo, are being invited to do the same. Not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Not to dominate, but to illuminate. This shift is not loud, though its impact will be undeniable. It begins with a decision, one that happens in the quiet of your heart. A decision to no longer postpone your joy. A decision to believe that your time is not just coming, but here. Right now. There's a beautiful teaching that reminds us, when the conditions are right, the lotus blooms effortlessly. And Leo, the conditions within you are now aligned. The struggle has served its purpose. The waiting has carved a deeper capacity in you. And the universe, in its infinite intelligence, is responding to that readiness. What was once delayed is now destined. What was once painful is now powerful. And what was once silent is about to roar. So, take a breath. Feel the shift in your body, your chest, your bones. You are not who you were last season. The winds have changed. The path ahead is clear. The season of waiting has fulfilled its work. And now, the season of becoming has begun. You were never meant to blend in. And deep down, Leo, you've always known this. There's a pulse inside you that doesn't beat for ordinary rhythms, a frequency that moves in tandem with the roar of destiny. That's because you weren't born to follow the crowd. You were born to stand in front of it, not to control it, but to elevate it. You are not the lion trained to perform in a cage. You are the wild, untamed force of nature, carrying the royal imprint of leadership written across your soul. As we move deeper into this billionaire shift, it's time to understand that wealth is not confined to currency. It is measured in the magnitude of your influence, the depth of your presence, and the clarity of your purpose. Influence doesn't require a stage. It only requires conviction. And the moment you remember that your energy speaks even when your mouth is silent, you begin to walk differently, more rooted, more radiant, more intentional. Astrologically, Leo is ruled by the sun, the heart of our solar system, and the giver of life itself. Just as the planets revolve around the sun, people are naturally drawn to your energy. That magnetic pull is not a coincidence, it is your cosmic signature. Your warmth has healing power. Your vision ignites movement. Your confidence, when anchored in authenticity, becomes a beacon for others who are still searching for their path. This isn't ego. This is responsibility. In numerology, the number 8 symbolizes power, balance, and infinity. It teaches us that influence, when used wisely, becomes regenerative. It multiplies, not just for the self, but for the collective. That is the nature of legacy, something you're now being called to create. This is why the universe is aligning circumstances in your favor. Because the light inside you isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to spread. To ripple. To lead. The tarot cards that align with this moment, the Emperor, the Sun, and Strength, are not just archetypes. They are reflections of who you are becoming. The Emperor stands tall in divine order, ruling not by force, but through clarity and structure. The Sun radiates joy, truth, and recognition, illuminating not only what is but what can be. And Strength, your birthright card, reminds you that true leadership is not loud, it is calm. Not aggressive, it is steady. Not domineering but empowering. But leadership does not begin on the podium. It begins the moment you make a choice aligned with your core. When you speak truthfully. When you act with compassion. When you stop shrinking to make others comfortable and start rising to make others courageous. Even a silent decision to believe in yourself today echoes through the fabric of tomorrow. It's often said that when one bird takes flight, the entire flock shifts direction. The same is true for you. Your decision to walk in your purpose does not only affect your path, it alters the air around others. The way you hold your boundaries, the way you speak up for what matters, the way you treat people when no one is watching. All of it is leadership. And yet, this shift doesn't demand that you do more. It asks that you become more. That you remember the fullness of who you are. Not perform it. Embody it. So the next time the morning sun breaks across your window, ask yourself a simple question. Who am I being called to guide today? Be being exactly who I am? Because this is the age of quiet authority, radiant clarity, and effortless impact. You're not just stepping into leadership, Leo. You've already been leading. Now, you're finally owning it. There's a moment in every transformation when the warmth of the light becomes so comforting, so familiar, that we forget it came after a long winter. And Leo, this is that moment. You are basking in a radiant energy, earned, sacred, undeniably yours, but there is a gentle whisper beneath the sunlight, a subtle warning: do not fall asleep in the glow. Because as bright as this phase may feel, the journey is still active, still alive, still demanding your awareness. This is not about fear. It's about presence. Sometimes, when things begin to align, when people start to notice our light, when abundance begins to flow, when validation arrives, we slip into passivity. We tell ourselves we've arrived, and slowly, we stop doing the inner work that got us here. But true light doesn't plateau, it expands. And expansion requires continued choice, continued clarity, continued courage. There will always be those who misunderstand your light. Some will shrink away from it, not because you're too much, but because they've forgotten their own fire. Some will resent it, mistaking your authenticity for arrogance. But here's what you must remember: real light doesn't apologize for shining. It simply exists, without hesitation. The sun never asks permission to rise. It does not dim for convenience. And neither should you. Energetically, this phase is calling you to refine what you emit. The law of attraction is not a myth, it's a reflection of quantum law, of energy aligning with energy. What you think, feel, and believe are not private, they are broadcasted frequencies. If you're vibrating at hesitation, delay, or fear of being seen, you will unknowingly attract experiences that echo those vibrations. But when you root into your worth, act with intention, and move with purpose, the universe responds accordingly. That's why this is a pivotal moment. Not because your light is fading, but because it's increasing, and with it, your responsibility to remain awake within it. Clarity without complacency. Radiance without recklessness. One of the most grounding practices during this type of shift is intentional journaling. Not just recounting your day, but setting an energetic tone. For the next 21 days, consider this a ritual. Each morning, write down 3 intentions. Not just goals, but ways you choose to show up. Ways you choose to remain aware of your light and your impact. This isn't just a habit, it's a daily reminder that you are the architect of your vibration. Also, pay attention to your dreams. When the conscious mind is quiet, the deeper messages emerge. The wisdom that bypasses logic, the signs that don't need translation, they often arrive when you're still. Dreams are more than random stories. They are metaphors, guidance, and sometimes, warnings dressed in symbolism. Don't ignore them. Record them. Reflect on them. Honor them. If you've ever hesitated to step forward because your light felt too much, you're not alone. That hesitation is part of the process. But today, you're being asked to move anyway. Not recklessly, but bravely. Because every time you choose to live fully visible, you grant permission silently and powerfully for others to do the same. So let me ask you, have you ever delayed your own rise out of fear of how others would perceive your brilliance? If that question stirs something within you, I invite you to share your experience in the comments below. Because light, when spoken, grows. And your courage to share may be the spark someone else needs to reignite their own fire. Everything that flourishes in the outer world must first take root within. That is the silent truth of all lasting transformation, and Leo, this is where your next chapter begins, not in the spotlight, but in the soil of your own mind. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being called to remember who you were before the world taught you to doubt. Before the fears. Before the setbacks. Before the limitations you may have accepted as identity. The billionaire shift is not just about material prosperity, it's a recalibration of self-worth, a restoration of your true design. And that begins within. Let's be clear, what you build, lead, or attract outwardly is only a reflection of what you've allowed to become strong, clear, and aligned on the inside. You could inherit the entire kingdom and still feel unworthy to rule it if your internal story is still rooted in smallness. But you were never meant to live small. As Romans 8 verse 17 reminds us, you are heirs with Christ. That's not just scripture, it's a blueprint of magnitude. You were created to lead, to innovate, to influence, not from a place of ego, but of divine clarity. So now, it's time to reorient. What beliefs are you still holding that whisper, not yet, not enough, or not for me? Those are not facts. They are programs, old, expired codes that were planted by fear, shaped by old wounds, or repeated through generations. And the truth is, they can be rewritten. David was chosen long before he defeated Goliath. But the anointing did not exempt him from the process. He still had to stand in the valley, sling in hand, heart wide open. Joseph was given dreams of greatness but still walked through betrayal, abandonment, and prison before he stood in power. Why? Because the inner strength forged in those hidden places prepared them to carry the weight of their calling without being crushed by it. This is where your emotional healing comes in. You're not just shifting your outer reality, you're preparing to hold it with grace. A powerful practice to integrate this stage is to write a letter to your future self 1 year from now. Begin with the phrase, "Here is what I now remember about who I am." Let the words flow without editing. Speak from the self who has already stepped into alignment. This is not fantasy, it's frequency work. It's emotional coding. Alongside this, begin each morning with a 5-minute stillness practice. No phone. No tasks. Just breath, awareness, and one affirmation spoken softly but clearly: I have been chosen. Not because you are better, but because you are ready. Speak it until you feel it in your bones. Speak it until it stops being a phrase and starts being a truth you carry. And if you're wondering whether these small inner shifts can really change your life, look around. Everything you've already overcome was once just a thought, a decision, a brave moment of saying yes to yourself. You don't need to leap. You just need to begin. One belief. One morning. One truth at a time. Because what rises from within you now will determine what aligns around you next. The internal shift is not just preparation. It is the activation point. And Leo, it's already begun. Miracles do not descend into the hands of those who merely wish, they arrive through the hearts of those who move. There is a moment in every journey where faith must stop being an idea and start becoming a verb. Leo, you are standing at such a moment now. This shift that's been whispering your name, calling you out from the shadows of doubt and into the brilliance of purpose, can only materialize through your obedience, not blind obedience, but embodied, conscious action that says, I am ready. Faith, when held without movement, becomes like a flame trapped in glass. It flickers but never spreads. That is why it is written, faith without works is dead. Not because faith alone has no value, but because its full power is only revealed when you act as though what you believe is already true. Think of this not as a demand for perfection, but as a divine invitation to participate in the architecture of your own breakthrough. Take one step. Just one. Call the person your soul has been nudging you to reconnect with, the one whose presence reminds you of who you were before you forgot. Rewrite your financial plan, even if it's just a draft. Numbers, after all, are symbols of intention. And intention is the first language of manifestation. Plant one seed today toward a dream you thought was too far gone. Buy the book. Apply for the opportunity. Say yes to the thing that quietly sets your heart racing. Not because you are certain, but because you are aligned. This is where color enters, not just on the canvas of your external world, but within your energy field. Gold is not merely a symbol of wealth. It is the vibration of sovereignty. When you wear it, meditate with it, or even visualize it, you awaken the lion within, the version of you that remembers its divine right to rise. Royal purple, on the other hand, speaks to the energy of spiritual authority. It reminds you that you are not only of the earth, you are of the lineage of visionaries, mystics, and change-makers. Let these colors accompany you as companions of intention. Let them anchor your frequency in boldness and trust. Remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a perfect plan or flawless faith. You simply need to say yes. Yes to the whisper that's been tugging at your chest. Yes to the possibility that something more, something magnificent is meant for you. When you offer that yes with sincerity, the entire field of existence begins to respond. Doors open. People appear. Timelines collapse. Heaven, as they say, leans in. This is not a passive unfolding. It is a co-creation. And right now, you are being asked to dance first. Take the lead in your own miracle. Trust that what's meant for you is already in motion, but it awaits your agreement to land. And your agreement is shown not by your words, but by your steps. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Move forward, even if your voice trembles and your hands shake. Let your courage be the offering, your action be the altar. Because Leo, the gates are opening, and the universe is watching not for what you hope, but for what you choose. And when you choose with clarity, even the stars will conspire to meet you there. And now, Leo, as this message gently draws to a close, let me remind you of something you may have forgotten in the noise of the world. You were never meant to live dimmed or delayed. You were born to ascend, to lead, to awaken others simply by remembering who you are. You are not the lion that waits for permission to roar. You are the one who stands on the mountaintop and calls the sun to rise. That is the power in you. That is the truth you've been circling back toward all along. Every part of this journey, the waiting, the learning, the rising, has led you to this threshold. And what happens next is not dictated by fate alone, but by your choice. That's the sacred beauty of it. You have the power to say yes, to take what you've felt in your spirit during this message and breathe life into it through action. The shift isn't reserved for the flawless. It arrives for those who dare to believe, who dare to begin even with trembling hands and an uncertain heart. So I ask you, gently but sincerely, what would change if today, you decided to stop holding back? What doors might open if you stopped shrinking for the comfort of others? Who might you become if you no longer hesitated to lead with light, even when others choose to stay in the dark? These are the questions that carry your destiny in their hands. If something inside you has stirred today, if even one sentence, one moment, felt like it was written just for you, I invite you to honor that knowing. Comment the number 777 below to mark your alignment, to say, I'm ready. Not ready in perfection, but ready in presence. Let this be the day you stop waiting for a sign and realize you are the sign. And if this message has found its way into your heart, I want to thank you deeply and sincerely for being here. Every view, every like, every thoughtful comment helps carry the frequency of awakening further. Your presence in this space uplifts more than you know. Eternal mindfulness is not just a channel, it's a sanctuary of remembrance, and your energy makes it sacred. If you haven't yet, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another Leo who may need this exact message. Let's grow this light together. Because this isn't just content, it's a calling. It's not just information, it's an activation. And the more we engage, the more we rise individually and collectively. The Billionaire Shift is not an event, it is a becoming. And you, Leo, are not only worthy of it. You are designed for it. Now the only question that remains is, will you say yes to the version of yourself who's already waiting for you on the other side? You know the answer. And I'll be right here, cheering you on as you step fully into the life that's been waiting for you all along.